What up, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Finster Princer, SoundCloud, SoundClick, and all points Donald Trump rallies. It's just another video of the menagerie of the day. Donald Trump um, pretty much had his rally shut down. I'm reading it here. He had a rally at UIC Pavilion on Friday night, and pretty much it was shut down by protesters and, of course, a lot of racial unrest, which seems to be the norm at a Donald Trump rally because everyone knows that he incites hatred and he speaks a lot of hatred. And he can't stand protesters. And one of the protesters actually got hit at another rally, and the guy thought he got away with it, but it was on camera. So he got arrested for assault. The guy was like 64 years old, punched a young black guy, and well, he hit him with an elbow in the face. It's on World Star. But Donald Trump, he talks about Muslims, he talks about Mexicans. He doesn't want to face the fact that David Duke is a man who uh, is apparently racist and a white supremacist, who is a KKK member, the leader of the KKK. And of course, everybody knows the KKK has killed hundreds and thousands of people and raped and murdered them in the most brutal way, cutting off limbs. And listen, America, uh, you know, there are two different white people out there. There's there's the white people who are like, you know what, this is ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? I want to vote for Donald Trump, but I'm not a racist. I don't mind black people. Hey, I just mind black people that mind white people. Then there's the racist white people who are just like, we hate all people who are not white and racist because they hate white people too. If you looked at some of these videos, it's like white people getting into it with white people, and there was just a stabbing at one of these rallies. Like, it's white people who are against white people, and oh man, the emperor has no clothes. I mean, if you guys can't see what's happening here, just look at your history books. The French Revolution went something like this, and you see what happened there. Rome, the Roman Empire, same thing. The Roman Empire was not taken over by any particular one thing. It was a few things, and one of them was Christianity. That, of course, the belief of one God and not the sun god Ra, who the emperor thought. And then, of course, Boudica and her merry men who came in, the Germanic tribes, who were mixed with white and black people, came in and, killed a bunch of Romans in the East, and the Western Empire still went on and is still alive. But nonetheless, the point is, every empire falls from within. The Incas, the Mayans, Quetzalcoatl and Pachacuti and all those guys, they fell from within because they were killing off each other by the thousands, offering their bodies up to, gods that didn't exist. And, they were, in Peru, they were killing each other off, until the conquistadors sailed over, and the, Spanish conquistadors pretty much, was handed the empire and killed 87 million of the Hispanic Indians. And they were actually Indians, they weren't Hispanic Indians, but now they're Hispanic Indians. Um, and or Mexicans or Latinos, so on and so forth. And so their empire crushed its own self. The African empire at one time, the African slash Jews, uh, their empire in Africa killed itself because they sold the Africans in the transatlantic slave trade actually sold the Jews, who are us, into slavery. And the Africans and the Jews look alike, but they're not the same people. But nonetheless, and they sold 22 or some odd million people out to the Ivory Coast. It was more than that. But it was way more than that because millions of them died on the way over here in slave ships. But nonetheless, the point is that every empire crushes versus its own self. Every single one. The Russian Empire did the same thing. Um, it, I mean, if you go back in history and look at the Russian Empire, had a few empires actually, but the Russian Empire had the same thing. The Russian Tsar, I think he was him and his whole family was assassinated in one of the famous men that came over there was Rasputin. That song that people dance about, that guy was actually part of the fall of the Russian Empire. But nonetheless, every single one of them has fallen from within. What I'm trying to do is create a historic trail so we all know exactly what's going to happen because history always repeats itself. Now you have white people who have always been against racism, and you have white people who have always been for racism because they are benefiting off of racism. I mean, you got millions of Africans, Americans in jail, mostly Jews, African Americans slash Jews in jail, not Jewish Jews. So it's a difference if you don't know. So or black people in jails because the jail system is privatized and they need people in the jail so the jail system can work. This is why a lot of time the police will arrest you even though you've done absolutely nothing. And you can quote how many rights you have. You're violating my rights, yada yada yada. They're still gonna arrest you because they need you to be in jail, even for a small amount of time so they can create revenue. Of course, this is why Ferguson is getting sued by the government because they found out that Ferguson was doing this on a mass scale, citywide scale, and now there's a federal lawsuit against Ferguson, and a lot of that came out because of the attention that Michael Brown got, the young man who was shot 11 times with his hands up, and all of the worldwide attention that that has got has trickled down to what is the police department doing, and they looked into the tickets that they were giving out, so on and so forth. And then, of course, other men have been dying over there in Ferguson, Missouri, before and after Michael Brown. Some of them have been burned, others have been shot point blank in front of cameras, everything. So it's really, really bad. And I'm saying all this to say, look, Donald Trump was a joke at first. He was a joke. People laughed at him. None of us took him seriously. But Donald Trump is winning at an alarming rate, and his supporters are serious. Now, if you look, when of course the people who really matter are the super delegates, and there's more to this than just meets the eye. This is not an accident that Donald Trump is winning like this. This is not an accident. Recently, in the House of Representatives, uh, they had a meeting or whatever, and one of the senators stood up and he was talking about allowing he was talking about a new mandate for the president to be able to send the US Army into war anywhere at any time without any other order from like the House. And I don't know how that goes, but whenever the president signs in a declaration of war, he has to go through, I think, the House or the Senate or something like that. I'm not sure how that goes. In other words, he can't just do it on his own. They're changing that rule. So put it all together. Just imagine, if you will, Donald Trump and his apparent hatred for the poor, for other nations, for anybody who's not a white supremacist. So imagine his hatred being backed up by the U.S. military, all of the U.S. military. Imagine that. He would be the total opposite of Obama because Obama went around and told different countries, hey, we need to get rid of these bombs because we only have one Earth. That's it. We blow this place up, it's lights out. And we all know that there's all kind of nuclear weapons that can just pretty much clear the whole populace out. And we're talking about the whole planet, all 8 billion of us gone just like that. So, be nothing. So, pretty much that's what's scary. See, they plan on trying to get someone like Donald Trump in there. Now, if you think the Bush administration was scary, the Bush administration, backed up, of course, by Halliburton and Dick Cheney and his evil ass, BP and all that other stuff, they are nothing compared to what they're setting Donald Trump up to do. See, see, uh, the Bush administration, of course, the whole 9/11. People are saying it wasn't Bush. People are saying it was Bush. Uh, I'm not even going to go into that because I have my own opinion, and that's all it is an opinion. But and that was 3,000 people who died. More people died in 9/11 in Pearl Harbor. See, it in every kingdom, a king has been the enemy of his people. In every evil king or every evil emperor or so on and so forth. Going back to the Romans, the emperor burned down Rome. He tried to burn down Rome. And this has happened a lot. Even Queen Elizabeth during the Elizabethan age, she was cutting off the heads of her subjects. If they did or said anything against her, Queen Elizabeth was cutting your head off. This is why they ran from her. Queen Elizabeth wasn't just some holier than thou person. She was a murderer on a mass scale. So what I'm saying is, Donald Trump is going to turn America inside out. So what we're seeing wherever he goes, and he has another. He's gonna also be in Illinois again. He's gonna be in a different part of Illinois. But wherever he goes, he turns America against America. He turns Americans against Americans. See, the white supremacists think that they are the Americans, and they're not. The African Americans, of course, we think we're Americans, and we're not. We were born here, but we are not from here. The only Americans or people of this land, of course, are the Indians. However, the operation of America being a melting pot, meaning anybody can come into this country and become a citizen and then be American by right of citizenship. So that makes us all Americans. But the white people think that they're the only people who have the right to call themselves Americans. This is where the problem is. So Donald Trump and his efforts to set up a wall and all this other stuff, it's all efforts to separate what he considers Americans from those who are not American. So it's not going to take him long to deem who is American and set up some kind of wall, whether it's tangible, intangible, whether it's a spiritual wall, whether he goes after the churches, and this is already happening. Dylan Roof, hello. Whether he goes after the churches, and Dylan Roof wasn't the only church incident. That's been happening for a long time, and that particular church has been burned down more than once. So you got your churches. Whether he sets you apart by the military, there's black and white people, Asians in the military. They're going to be separated. So you see what's happening here. It's a whole targeted system it's a whole effort to separate who is American and who isn't. The problem is you can't go into somebody's genealogy and say who is American and who isn't when you have people of different colors who are all, mixed up and having children by children by children by children. And that's been going on since we've been here. So it's getting bad, but I'm telling you, America is just going to eat itself apart until it falls, and then the Asians are probably going to come and take over. And when they take over, after a war or 10, then a couple bombs drop, and whoever's alive is going to realize that, the white supremacists are going to finally realize that, the black people were never your enemy. we, we weren't your enemy. You've been shadow boxing us for a long time, killing us when you're actually killing your help. The real enemies have just been letting us kill each other off and just watching. The old saying is the enemy of the enemy, my friend. So that's what I think is going on in America. It wouldn't surprise me if Donald Trump does become president. Although it would, I mean, and if he does become president, it's going to be like what happened to Bush and the Florida hanging chads. That whole debauchery where Bush stole office. I think if Donald Trump gets in the office, he's going to steal it. And once he gets in there, they sign that boy in. I mean, you got somebody who constantly said he wanted to screw his own daughter, among other things. And these crazy people are voting for this dude. So I'm just saying, prepare yourself for the future shock, people, because it's going down bad. It's your boy Tone 202. Just my thoughts on the menagerie of the day.